Hadn't he just been thinking it was a bad mistake to underestimate even a 6-year-old? The brat fought like a Timberwolf pup, twisting with a powerful muscularity Sheridan would not have credited had he not been experiencing it. He bucked and fought and lunged for the door, panting and uttering weird bird-like cries. He got the handle. The door swung open. Sheridan got the kid by the collar of his Penguins t-shirt and hauled him back in. He tried to clamp the other cuff on the special strut beside the passenger seat and missed. The kid bit his hand twice, bringing blood. God, his teeth were like razors. The pain went deep and sent a steely ache all the way up his arm. He punched the kid in the mouth. The kid fell back into the seat, dazed. Sheridan's blood on his lips and chin and dripping onto the ribbed neck of the t-shirt. Sheridan locked the other cuff onto the strut and then fell back into his own seat, sucking the back of his right hand. He pulled his hand away from his mouth and looked at it. 2 shallow, ragged tears, each maybe 2 inches long, ran up towards his wrist from just above the knuckles. Still, he felt no urge to pop the kid again. He didn't blame the kid for fighting. He would have done the same. He would have to disinfect the wound as soon as he could, though. Might even have to get a shot. Still, he couldn't help but admire the kid's guts. He dropped the transmission into drive and pulled past the drive-through window and back onto the road. He turned left. The Turk had a big house on the edge of the city. Sheridan would go there. 30 miles, maybe an hour. He passed a sign which read, "Thank you for shopping the beautiful Cousin Town Mall," turned left, and let the van creep up to 40 miles an hour. He fished a handkerchief out of his back pocket, folded it over the back of his right hand, and concentrated on following his headlights to the 40 grand the Turk had promised for a boy child. "You'll be sorry," the kid said. The kid was crying again, and his tears still had that odd pinkish cast, even though they were now well away from the bright lights of the mall. Sheridan wondered for the first time if the kid might have some sort of communicable disease. He supposed it was a little late to start worrying about such things, so he put it out of his mind. "When my Popsy finds you, you'll be sorry," the kid elaborated. "Yeah," Sheridan said. He turned off State Road 28 and onto an unmarked stretch of blacktop. There was a long, marshy area on the left. The kid pulled at the handcuffs and made a sobbing noise. "Quit it won't do you any good." Nevertheless, the kid pulled again, and this time there was a groaning, protesting sound Sheridan didn't like at all. He looked around and was amazed to see that the metal strut on the side of the seat, a strut that he had welded in place himself, was twisted out of shape. Shit, he thought. He's got teeth like razors, and now I find out he's also as strong as an ox? If this is what he's like when he's sick, God forbid I should have grabbed him on a day when he was feeling well. He pulled over onto the soft shoulder and said, "Stop it!" "I won't!" The kid yanked at the handcuff again, and Sheridan saw the metal strut bend a little more. Christ, how could any kid do that? It's panic, he answered himself. That's how he can do it. But none of the others had been able to do it, and many of them had been a lot more terrified than this kid by this stage of the game. He opened the glove compartment in the center of the dash. He brought out a hypodermic needle. The Turk had given it to him and cautioned him not to use it unless he absolutely had to. Drugs, the Turk said, could damage the merchandise. "See this?" The kid gave the hypo a glance and nodded. "You want me to use it?" The kid shook his head at once. Strong or not, he had any kid's instant terror of the needle. Sheridan was happy to see. "That's very smart. It would put out your lights." He paused. The kid stared at him, lips trembling, cheeks papery with fear. "You stop yanking the cuff. I put away the needle. Deal?" "Deal," the kid whispered. "You promise?" "Yes." The kid lifted his lip, showing white teeth. One of them was spotted with Sheridan's blood. "You promise on your mother's name?" "I never had a mother." "Shit," Sheridan said, disgusted, and got the van rolling again. He moved a little faster now, and not only because he was finally off the main road. The kid was a spook. Sheridan wanted to turn him over to the Turk, get his money, and split. "My Popsy's really strong, mister." "Yeah?" Sheridan asked, and thought, I bet he is, kid. Only guy in the old folks' home who can bench press, right? "He'll find me." "Uh-huh." "He can smell me." Sheridan believed it. He could smell the kid. That fear had an odor was something he had learned on his previous expeditions, but this was unreal. The kid smelled like a mixture of sweat, mud, and slowly cooking battery acid. Sheridan was becoming more and more sure that something was seriously wrong with the kid. Sheridan cracked his window. On the left, the marsh went on and on. Broken slivers of moonlight glimmered in the stagnant water. "Popsy can fly." Yeah, Sheridan said. After a couple of bottles of night train, I bet he flies like an eagle. Popsy, enough of the Popsy shit, kid, okay? The kid shut up. 4 miles farther on, the marsh on the left broadened into a wide, empty pond. Sheridan glanced toward the pond, a flat silver sheet in the moonlight, and then the moonlight was gone, blotted out. Overhead, there was a flapping sound like big sheets on a clothesline. Popsy! The kid cried. Shut up, it was only a bird. But suddenly he was spooked, very spooked. He looked at the kid. The kid's lip was drawn back from his teeth again. His teeth were very white, very big. No, not big. Big wasn't the right word. Long was the right word. Especially the two at the top at each side. What did you call them? The canines? Stop. His mind suddenly started to fly, as if he were on speed. I told him I was thirsty. Why would Popsy go to a place where they... Was he going to say eat? He'll find me. He can smell me. Popsy can fly. Something landed on the roof of the van with a heavy, clumsy thump. Popsy! The kid screamed again, and suddenly Sheridan could not see the road anymore. A huge, membranous wing covered the windshield from side to side. Popsy can fly. Sheridan screamed and jumped on the brake, hoping to tumble the thing off the roof. There was that groaning, protesting sound of metal under stress from his ride again, this time followed by a short snap. A moment later, the kid's fingers were clawing into his face, pulling open his cheek. He stole me, Popsy! The kid was screeching at the top of the van in that bird-like voice. He stole me! He stole me! The bad man stole me! Sheridan groped for the hypo and found it. Then a hand, more like a talon than a real hand, smashed through the side window and ripped the hypo from Sheridan's grasp, along with two of his fingers. A moment later, Popsy peeled the entire driver's side door out of its frame, the hinges now bright twists of meaningless metal. Sheridan saw a billowing cape, black on the outside, lined with red silk on the inside. And the creature's tie was blue all right, just as the boy had said. Popsy yanked Sheridan out of the car, talons sinking through his jacket and shirt and deep into the meat of his shoulders. Popsy's green eyes suddenly turned as red as blood roses. We came to the mall because my grandson wanted some Ninja Turtle figures, Popsy whispered. The ones they show on TV. You should have left him alone. Sheridan was shaken like a rag doll. He shrieked. He heard Popsy asking if the kid was still thirsty. Heard the kid saying yes. His throat was so dry. He saw Popsy's thumbnail for a second before it disappeared under his chin. His throat was cut with that nail before he realized what was happening, and the last things he saw were the kid, cupping his hands to catch the flow, the way Sheridan had cupped his hands under the backyard faucet for a drink on a hot summer day when he was a kid, and Popsy stroking the boy's hair gently with grandfatherly love. Thank you all for watching part 2 of my Popsy narration. I hope you all enjoyed this part. And now, while the first part of Popsy is, a lot more of a slow burn, kind of setting things up and dropping hints that, something isn't quite right, this just goes straight into it. Now, I will address that probably one of my main problems, and James of Lone Wolf Audio Works, he actually mentioned this in my comments and agreed with me, and that was that my vocal quality can sometimes vary in kind of its range. Some of the voices I do might change later on, and now I'm gonna try and fix this, but honestly, I'm not too sure how to. So if any of you have got advice, come on, leave it down in the comments, and it would be really appreciated. But in the meantime, I'm just going to try and work on it, and I thought it was just good to, at this point, acknowledge it and say, hey, I'm trying to work on it. Next videos, or specifically the next 2 videos I'll be working on, it will most likely be a Jujutsu Kaisen manga dub, and specifically this is going to be Hikari's passion speech and then Higuruma's justice speech, and I'm really looking forward to doing these. Those are 2 of my favorite characters. I love them so much. I think they're great, and I'm really looking forward to kind of doing a dub for them. One final note is that I have an email which is completely open for all of you to send ideas to, so if you have a good video idea, or maybe there is a short story you want me to narrate, or there's a manga or comic strip, or a webcomic that you want me to dub over, just send me the idea. I'm completely open, and I'm really interested to hear some of your ideas. But anyway, that about does it. Now, remember, if you enjoyed, like and subscribe to stay up to date with my content. And, well, after all, thank you all so much, and I bid you all adieu. Goodbye.